acknowledgment. In the spirit of respect, reciprocity, and truth, we honor and acknowledge Mokensis and the traditional Treaty 7 territory and oral practice of the Blackfoot Confederacy, including Hitsika, Gaina, Pikani, Ayahi, Nakoda, and Hutina. We acknowledge that this territory is home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3, within the historical Northwest Métis homeland. Finally, we acknowledge all nations, Indigenous and non, who live, work, and play on this land, and who honor and celebrate this territory. This sacred gathering place provides us with an opportunity to engage in and demonstrate leadership on reconciliation. Thank you for your enthusiasm and commitment to join our team on the land of Treaty 7 territory. And now I would like to quickly share the agenda for this evening with you. At 6:05 p.m., we will have reminders. At 6:10 p.m., we will share our vision through a disability lens. At 6:20 p.m., each candidate will be given 5 minutes to speak by word ascending order. At 7:30 p.m., curated question from the floor. At 7:35 p.m., 1 minute close from each candidate by word reverse order. And then at 7:55 p.m., closing and thank you. And now I would like to introduce you to my co-MC, Angie Brown.
Thank you, Amy. It is a pleasure to be here as a co-host. I do hope everybody is having a good evening and a good week. I would like to remind everyone of a few things of the following. This meeting will be recorded and posted to our YouTube channel in the next few days. Knowing this, we hope everybody respects our safe space. We ask for questions and shared them in advance with the candidate in advance. However, if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A part of the chat. We may not get to all the questions, but we thank you for suggesting that you made to the candidates for them to address in their 1-minute closing statement. We will also share all questions asked of the candidates after the webinar. And candidates, please try to mute Candidates, please try to mute and eliminate as much background noise as best as you can. Turn on the live transcription at the bottom of your screen to help follow along with the conversation. And reminder, each candidate will be provided 5 minutes to share their ideas, beginning with Ward 1 and ascending Ward to Ward 12. Amy, back to you, my dear. Amy? Oh, sweetheart, you're on mute.
Well, that doesn't help us at all.
There you go, that's better. Now we can hear you.
Okay, thank you, Angie. Before we hear from the candidate, we would like to share the disability lens vision with you. Here to share that vision, I would like to introduce you to myself and Andrea Van Voigt. Thank you. Okay. It is important to collaborate with disabled people, as 1 in 5 Canadians has a disability. This is a large community. We want to be involved. We want to be consulted. Nothing about us without us. A great city means being able to connect with family and friends, being able to access things for health and wellness, having access to parks, hospitals, clinics, grocery stores, mental health services, education, art, and culture. Access to decent, affordable, low-income places to live, access to affordable, reliable taxis, cars, buses, and sidewalks, access to healthy food, opportunity for employment, physical access into homes and businesses all year long, support the ongoing work of mental health and addiction strategies in order to prevent a crisis. Continue the ongoing work with the Enough for All strategy to address poverty. Continuing universal design and building physical access to community. And timely snow removal. Andrea?
Thank you, Amy. A great city. A great city means being proactive, using an inclusion and fairness lens to ensure all people are included, focusing on essential services to ensure people are not excluded, including people that are reliant on essential services in the decision-making that affects them, ensuring that people with disabilities feel comfortable when talking with council members. If a council member is disrespectful, it should be reported. Ensuring that council members consider the rates of social assistance and the poverty that affects disabled people. It costs $2,280 a month on average for a single person to live in Calgary. Yet assured income for the severely handicapped, AISH, is only $1,685 a month. So that's a deficit of $595. A great city means promoting local businesses and diverse customers. Continuation to fund fair entry. This will ensure equitable access to city services like public transit, recreation, property tax, spaying and neutering costs, and home maintenance. Continuing to support the mental health and addiction strategies in Calgary. And also, we worked closely with Basic Income Calgary. We believe that basic income is a concept that city candidates need to learn more about. So you can learn more about it by checking out basicincomecalgary.ca.
Thank you, Andrea. We would now like to begin the candidate portion of our evening. We would like to remind candidates you have been provided 5 minutes. Lloyd, our timekeeper, will remind you at the 4-minute mark when you have 1 minute remaining. Andrea, who is our first candidate?
We would like to welcome from Ward 2, Francis Aranha.
Just unmute myself. Good evening, everyone. I'm Francis Aranha, running for Ward 2. Nice to see a lot of familiar faces. Thank you so much to Disability Action Hall for having me on this call and getting so many candidates on board. It's quite a tall order getting everyone together. With less than 5 minutes to go and Lloyd around keeping the time, it's very difficult. I think I need to squeeze things quicker. In the past year, with the pandemic and all these restrictions, Canada has seen a growth in crime, hatred, mental health issues, domestic violence, and addictions. Having said that, disability is only a part of the ongoing issue, and I'm glad we are addressing this today. People with disabilities, whether visible or not, have a tremendous ability to thrive in our community and adapt to all the changes. All we need to do is understand them better by putting ourselves in their shoes. There's a very famous saying where they say, do unto others what you would have done them unto you. One of my best friend and candidate for Ward 2, I know him from several months, and I don't want to mention any names like Jacob McGregor, sorry, I just mentioned the name, is a perfect example. Jacob saw his ability in his disability and has decided to help people. Isn't that marvelous? There's so much of positive energy flowing through the last call. It was just mind-boggling listening to all the ideas, what candidates can bring to the table if they sit together. I wish and hope that all our representatives at the City Hall create the same synergy. A lot of these issues only come to light if we experience them firsthand. An example to share here, I hail from India, and a decade back, I had an accident wherein I sustained multiple fractures. It was very tough to get through with my injuries. However, the mental trauma I endured was much more. The city of Bombay, supposed to be India's commercial hub, was just not ready or had the infrastructure to support people with disability. When I compare the two countries, I feel I'm blessed to be in Canada. Ward 2 especially, I've door knocked more than 13,000 homes and met a lot of people. It's so diverse. It's rapidly growing with a mix of old and new communities. The older communities, I see, lack accessibility because it's fair to say that they didn't have a vision back then, 30 years back, whereas the new communities are much more better as compared to them. However, a lot of fine tuning needs to be done. We face various challenges with 38% of my ward population within the age groups of 14 to 30. So it's all about educating this class of people and preparing them towards a future. Whereas 15% of our population is above the age of 60. And it's time to help them retire and time to let them live in peace. Lastly, to sum it up, life is all about learning. Community living is all about living together in peace and harmony, being symbiont and working towards a broader vision. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. The basic needs of human beings till date are food, shelter, and clothing, and everything else revolves around it. The city needs are very dynamic, and what we need to do is just check what do we have at the moment, what better can be done, and hence bridge the gap. I wish best of luck to all the candidates on the call. Should we be elected, it will be a pleasure to work with you guys. Thank you.
Kelley, thank you very much, Franklin. Now we would like to introduce our next candidate.
Jennifer Wyness from Ward 2, please.
Thank you very much for having me. 5 minutes is not a lot of time to unpack the diversity that and everything that this conversation encompasses, but I'll do my best. Your vision for Calgary, a city that moves, that is safe and inspiring, is something that is a universal benefit to all Calgarians. And I think it's something that we all would benefit from when working together. If you look at a day in the life of a Calgarian, by building a city that is adaptable, accessible, you allow people throughout their lifespan to move throughout the city unencumbered. In your previous slide where you talked about clearing sidewalks, that is a brilliant goal, because by not having cleared sidewalks, it can turn someone who is able-bodied quickly disabled for 6 to 8 weeks if they sustain an injury. So it's really important to build bridges with what your goals are and with the greater community in Calgary. When we build city buildings such as libraries, by having different level counters, it allows children, small children and people in wheelchairs to access an independent experience at the library that we should all strive to make accessible for everyone. When you talked about ACES and the deficit for which the supports you're provided, COVID has proven with the standard set at $2,000, we really need to reopen what ACE provides for community members, and how cost of living constantly goes up with inflation. We really need to be making adjustments as a society to bring everybody up and provide hand-ups, not handouts. We also have to look at visible and invisible illnesses and how someone may not visibly look disabled, but their experience will be just as a similar experience to someone who is visibly disabled. And I think we need to not judge. We need to build bridges and believe someone when they say that something is a challenge for them, and not look at it as a negative, but an opportunity to provide supports and trust our community members at large. People don't really go out to do to be disbelieved. They want to be heard, and they want to live their best life. And I think it's through believing, hearing, and looking to bring people together that we will build the best Calgary. We can't just stop growth in Calgary we can't just stop sprawl without looking at how to build our community in a way that people can move unencumbered of all abilities, of all ages. And what Disability Action Hall is trying to bring to candidates is an awesome achievement. And it's nice to be able to come here and hear you, and if elected, work with you to achieve what you are asking, because what you are asking is what I'm hearing at the doors of all Calgarians are asking. You are not alone in your ask. And I think that is something we all need to remember, is that Calgarians want a community that is safe. They want to be able to move throughout throughout Calgary, throughout our different wards as effectively as possible, whether it be transit or by car or by bike. And it's how we come together with all the different nonprofits and organizations out there advocating for their communities. That is what councillors are here to listen and work together and find where similar asks can be partnered up together, so that those asks can be heard louder by the current councillors that are elected. And so it's really
1 minute going to the candidate.
so it's really great that you have asked us all here and given us so much information to absorb and to brainstorm off of, and to advocate for, and to build bridges with other community organizations that are asking for similar wants and needs of a growing, beautiful Calgary. Thank you for your time.
My apologies, I was muted. Thank you very much, Jennifer Wyness. Ward 2, and now we welcome our next candidate.
Our next candidate is McAnerin from Ward 3.
Hi, I'm very pleased to be invited and would like to thank the Disability Action Hall and their supporters, Vibrant Communities Calgary, Alberta Ability Network, and Vekova for creating this very important forum for understanding, discussion, and advocacy. As a side note, my daughter works as a wayfinder for Vekova, and I know how important and meaningful their work is. I've been living and working with people with disabilities for most of my life. My mother's on AISH and often struggles to make ends meet. A family friend who stayed with us for about a year was legally blind, and my wife Leah suffered a stroke in 2013 that left her with loss of sensation on her entire right side and brain damage, including aphasia. Work-wise, I helped work on and implement the Canadian government's Common Look and Feel guidelines for web accessibility, and provided accessibility testing and consultation for BC's Ministry of Tourism and Jobs and Industry. As president of the Northern Hills Community Association, I met an amazing volunteer that was a strong advocate for people with disabilities, and I invented the position of accessibility director right on the spot, the only such position in any CA in Calgary to my knowledge. She's been invaluable for placing a disability lens on all aspects of the organization, from event checklists to hiring practices. A disability lens makes a real difference on an organization, and I've seen the results personally. I commit to bringing that lens to everything City Hall does through consultation and inclusion. The areas where a disability lens can apply are almost limitless, but I only have 5 minutes, so I'll address the top issues as I see them. First, communications from the city to residents need to be in plain language. All too often while working with the city as president, I found myself overwhelmed by the amount of jargon and acronyms city employees communicate with. And I have a law degree. Lawyers even have jargon for the word jargon. They call it a term of art. So I can only imagine how intimidating this type of communication is to other people. The City of Calgary has begun a plain language initiative, and I commit to continuing and enhancing it. Next, as I've observed firsthand, people with disabilities are disproportionately low income. Don't even get me started on how insufficient AISH is in Alberta right now. The city can do its part to help with this by keeping costs low, including working with developers to create low-income housing that is accessible and available. Another way to keep costs low is by continuing the fair entry program, which I commit to. As a matter of fact, I'd like to see it expanded. Finally, there are many ways that a city can improve the lives of the disabled simply by applying a disability lens, from making sure that pathways are cleared of snow to changing how we set up our construction and repair processes. For example, an issue many people overlooked is that people with disabilities often have trouble finding accessible things to do, such as fitness, hobby lessons, arts and culture. What use is accessible transit if there's nowhere to go? We need both. As another example, a simple fix the city could implement right away is in the 311 app. Did you know you can't report an accessibility issue within the 311 app? If you try, it tells you to call 311 instead. The simple act of allowing people to report accessibility issues via the app would provide the city with tons of data about what areas need attention most and to help plan future projects. Calgary has potential to be one of the best cities in the world. We're already ranked number 47, but we can only do so by raising the bar and setting the standard, not just following the standard or worse, falling short of the standard. My 5 minutes are almost up. Thanks, Lloyd. I'm beating you to the punch. But I hope that I'll be in City Council soon and be able to make good on these commitments as the new Ward 3 councillor. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you, Ian McAnerin from Ward 3. Who do we have next, Andrew?
We have Nate Pike from Ward 3.
Hi, I just want to start by saying hi to everybody here, and I want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm going to try to answer as many of the questions that were sent out in advance as I can in 5 minutes, as well as paint some broad strokes. So bear with me for a sec. I think the most important thing to me, one of the biggest lessons that I've learned over the last several years in regards to making sure that there's proper equity for people comes to do with one of the phrases that you actually opened with, Amy, and that was the idea of nothing for us without us. The consultation piece is absolutely huge, and I think that we've so far done a really bad job as a city and as a ward in making sure that that consultation is happening. That's something that I definitely want to change very, very badly. There's a couple of different things that I think that we can do specifically in Ward 3 to make sure that all of the voices that need to get heard do get heard. One of the first things that I want to commit to is the idea of doing quarterly town halls focused on disability issues with members of the disability community, specifically from Ward 3. The communication piece is absolutely critical. And I find that one of the biggest issues that I've been hearing from people when I've been speaking with them regarding disability issues is there's a very real concern that they're not going to be heard. And that comes from a lot of different places. Different disabilities can present obviously in very different ways. And I think that it's incumbent on the person who's doing the listening to be prepared to adjust their experience and the way that they listen, as opposed to trying to force a round peg into a square hole in regards to how that other person needs to communicate. So the communication piece is really, really big for me. One of the things that has really informed a lot of my positions on disability issues is the experience that I've gathered as working as a paramedic for the last 12 years, because I cross paths with people who are dealing with all kinds of different disabilities, both visible and invisible, all the time. And I see where the cracks in the system are. One of the questions that was asked in advance had to do with transportation. One of the big issues that we have here in Ward 3 is the question of the Green Line. Now, for those of you that aren't paying close attention to it because you don't live in Ward 3, that's okay. But the way that the Green Line is structured right now is we're not going to see a train up here anytime soon. I'm advocating for an accessible BRT Max style like we see on 17th Avenue to make sure that people do have access to the transit they need to get to the services they need. I also want to see the transit passes made more accessible, and that includes the pricing, because I was looking at the 3 bands of pricing that exist for low-income transit passes because somebody asked me a question about it today, and I was really quite shocked at the jumps that we see in between those 3. So that's something that I definitely want to see addressed. There's other things that are happening in Ward 3 that I think are really, really good. There's 2 parks that are coming up that are accessible parks. One of them is already in service in Hidden Valley, and there's another one that's coming to Vivo. That's exactly the kind of thing that I think that City Council and a City Councillor needs to be focused on making sure happens. Because if we don't have those sorts of amenities available for everybody, people inevitably end up getting excluded, and that just presents more and more barriers. The other piece that was asked in the questions in advance had to do with affordable housing. I am a huge advocate for affordable housing. I see all the time at work, like I said, as a paramedic, the conditions that a lot of people are living in, particularly people who are living on fixed incomes or lower incomes or are reliant on programs like AISH. And I'm going to throw my voice into the chorus of people who are saying AISH is a train wreck right now, because it is. I've said that publicly before, and I'm going to keep saying it until something's done about it. The bottom line for me, and this is where I'm going to try to wrap it up because I don't want to take any
1 minute rolling, candidate.
There we go.
Okay.
I timed it perfectly. The bottom line for me, though, is I think that it's incumbent on any city councillor and any candidate to make it clear that they are here to listen to people in the way that they need to be heard. That's something that I've spent a lot of time learning how to do. It's something that I'm committed to learning how to do better, because I do still have a lot to learn. But it's a commitment that I'm making, and I'm going to hold myself to. And I would ask anybody who feels like I'm not to hold me to it as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nate Pike, Ward 3. Who is our next candidate, Envy?
Kumar Sharma from Ward 3.
Hello all, my name is Kumar Sharma. I'm running to be our next city councillor from Ward 3. And today I'm glad that we have 3 of the Ward 3 candidates. So that means we are doing something that should be done for in this forum as well. And I would like to say very passionately that I have lived with one of my aunts who was visually impaired, 0% visibility, and she, throughout her life until a couple of 3 years ago when she passed away, she had become a music teacher. She was an astrologer. She helped out all of us. And same thing for one of our friends from Sparwood, BC, their son. He's disabled, but then again, at the same time, we've never called him disabled. We've always been with him, and he has become a banker. And we all should be supporting as much as we can. And for the questions, just like Nate Pike has put up, trying to answer all these questions that were submitted, I would like to say that not only is affordable housing needed, but it needs to be accessible as well. The accessibility is the better part. I know we have affordable housing, but some of the places, the accessibility has been the challenge. And we have to make sure that our city buildings are accessible, not only to get in, but also accessible bathrooms inside as well. I was door knocking yesterday in Hidden Valley, and I wanted to get into a house, and this caregiver provider, she was entering the house, and she says the resident of the house, she is quadriplegic since she was 23, and she just told me all those stories, the difficulties this resident has been having for last almost over 25 years. And there are bathrooms, but then you cannot access unless you have a manual chair. And you need to have, if you have a electric chair, the accessibility is a big issue as well. We also need accessibility for the visually impaired, and Access Calgary is doing a great job. And I know they have introduced WAVE. It is my understanding that you wait quite a bit for that because there's not enough accessible vans. And income-wise, it is very difficult for many people on fixed incomes who can't even afford low-income passes. Cost of rent is so much to live in at first place. So all these things added up, I think we should be doing more work for the disabled people, and also the residents who are in Ward 3. And I want to ensure that as soon as I become a city councillor, I'll be holding first my town hall meeting with all those people and everybody who may be disabled. If you call, I've never called anybody disabled, because you are valuable in other sense as well. And more consultations are needed by holding focus groups with people directly affected, and agencies that serve them is definitely needed. This will allow the city to grow where the gaps in services are. So having said that, having lived through my own relatives, my own cousins who have experienced disability.
1 minute going to the candidate.
Thank you. And so my own cousins who have lived through disability, my own relatives, and this is how we grow our passion, and we create an environment for somebody and to live in and to be part of the society. Building community is one of my platforms in my campaign, and this is how we build community. And then when I talk about infrastructure, we need to have more accessibility. More accessibility is needed at all levels. So being a counselor candidate in Ward 3 and having my own relatives who have experienced this situation as well. I'm very much aware, and as soon as I become city councillor, we will have more chats, and I'll offer my full support. And thank you so much for listening to me. And that concludes my 5 minutes. And I can go on and on for hours on this thing, but thank you so very much. Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you, Kumar Sharma. Who do we have next, Andrea?
We have DJ Kelley, and he's from Ward 4.
Hello, everyone. Hello, neighbors. It's so great to get to see so many of you, and a big thank you to Disability Action Hall for organizing this event here tonight. I'm here primarily, honestly, to listen and learn from Disability Action Hall and your members. I'd argue that Calgary would be a lot better off if, a lot better place if more people with the ability to make change in the city listen to people like you. So rather than sharing with you all my great opinions and solutions on the issues that you experience daily, I prefer to spend the time here tonight leaning on your expertise. Council could learn a lot if they simply took the time to listen and learn from you about your lived experience, because you already know what's broken and how to fix a lot of it. How to fix a lot of it you've already addressed by a fantastic presentation earlier on. The disability lens, and I do recommend for every one of the candidates here, if you haven't had an opportunity to go through in detail the disability lens itself that was circulated in advance. Because I think that what Disability Action Hall here is advocating for is nothing that's outrageous by any means. It is all simple, achievable things that the city of Calgary can make real meaningful progress on. The problem is that nobody's really been listening. And that's what we need to do a lot more of. So tonight, instead of sort of sharing my opinion on things, what I want to do is just tell you a little bit about my background that's related to the topic at hand here, and how I think I may be able to help you make progress on the things that you're asking for in the disability lens. So first and foremost, I do need to say my son has a medical disability, and probably the hardest thing I've had to do as a parent is watch him every single day navigate a world that's not designed for him. I've learned that it's not easy living with a disability, no matter how severe that disability may be. In addition to constantly advocating for accommodations for him, I've had to fill out the disability tax credit paperwork. I'm aware how hard it can be to set up an RDSP, for example. School individual performance plans and teacher meetings, they all take up a lot of time in our lives. And doing those kinds of activities alone represents an enormous cost that most people don't have to pay. For people who just want to live their lives like everyone else, that is an unfair burden. That's in addition to the fact that our son has, his disability is actually an invisible disability, which makes it just that much more difficult to advocate for on his behalf, because when you look at him, it's not immediately clear what his disability is. The city of Calgary can help reduce a lot of that burden in a lot of spaces, especially when it comes to accessibility and affordability. If you go back about 5 years, I myself actually used to work at the city of Calgary in the area of community engagement. And one of my favorite projects that I saw be implemented during my time at the city of Calgary, I'm not taking any credit for this, to be really clear, I did not work on this project, but the fair entry program was a real game changer, in my opinion. It was a real opportunity for the city of Calgary to take a look at all the different business units that exist and all the hoops that had to be jumped through by individuals with a disability in each and every one of those business units. And what they did was they finally took a look at it from a user perspective to be able to say, how can we streamline this to make it as easy as possible?
1 minute rolling from the candidate.
Thank you very much, Lloyd.
Okay.
How can we make it as easy as possible for individuals to get the services that they need without having to jump through as many of those hoops as possible? As I said, my background is in community engagement. I think that gives me a huge amount of ability and skills to be able to not just talk about how do we address these issues, but actually with the skills to be able to work on how we make progress against those things. Listening to people, finding ways to include people in conversations, especially through an equitable lens so that individuals can participate in the way that works best for them, is a skill that that I think that I bring to the table. And I would say that building a city, honestly, that works best for the individuals who are traditionally marginalized, if you do that, you will end up building a city that works for everyone. And that's why I would say that my #1 priority when it comes to this particular issue is including more people with lived experience in the conversation to make sure that your voice is heard at the table at the very beginning of an issue.
Thank you very much, DJ Kelley, Ward 4. And our next candidate is?
Lana Bentley, please, from Ward 6.
Good evening, everybody. Hello to all my potential coworkers, possibly, and hello to the folks from the Disability Action Hall. My name is Lana Bentley, and I'm pleased to come to you tonight from Ward 6. So I think I might take a slightly different approach in my remarks tonight. I want to be completely honest that in preparing for this evening, I wasn't quite sure what to say. And when I recognized for myself what might be getting in the way, it occurred to me that my first interaction with disabled people was being in a shopping center. And I don't know why this memory stands out to me distinctly, but I remember noticing a physically disabled woman and my parents very quickly saying, "Don't stare, don't look. That's rude." And the reason I share that, folks, is because I would later learn when I was training to be a social worker that though you may not always be a perpetrator, chances are at some point along the way you've been a perpetuator. And for me, as it relates to the issue of disability, I think in an effort to be polite over the years, there probably have been times both literally and figuratively when I haven't looked in an effort to be polite. I recognize now that that's an unhelpful approach. Tonight, I was invited here by the Disability Action Hall, and I think that the name says it. What we need is action and disruption on behalf of people who are disabled. And so to that end, as a city councillor, I think tonight it's more important for me to share what I can do and what I'm prepared to do, and how, as I unlearn and unpack my own misgivings and understandings about the disabled community, how can I take that to city council? To me, it's not just about clearing the literal pathways for folks to navigate our city, but it's about clearing the systemic obstructions as well. We've heard tonight about income inequality, and I would also say, working in the sector that I do, I see how women who are disabled are also differently affected by issues like homelessness and domestic violence, and even having access to appropriate mental health resources. As a city councillor, I'm committed to looking at these issues through an intersectional lens. To quote Audre Lorde, there are no single issue struggles because nobody leads a single issue life. I think that the issues and opportunities and strengths and resilience and challenges of the disabled community are varied. And I want to be not just an ally, but an accomplice in creating the disruption that is required so that every Calgarian with varying degrees of ability can feel like a fully included member of our community. So I think a lot of other great policy ideas have been shared here tonight, and I would say ditto to all of them. But over and above that, I think as it relates to finding solutions that work for the disability community, I think that the maxim that was shared at the very beginning of our talk tonight says it best: nothing about us without us. So in solidarity, you can count on having an accomplice on council from Ward 6. Thank you very much. And I'm happy to donate my excess time to others who need it as well.
Thank you very much, Lena Bentley.
No problem. Thank you.
No problem. From Ward 6, and our next candidate, Andrea, is
Marilyn North Peigan from Ward 7.
Okay, everybody. Thank you so much, Disability Action Hall, for inviting me here this evening. I'm going to introduce myself first. I'm actually from the Treaty 7 area. I'm from the Piikani Nation, or Peigan Reserve, which is about 2 hours south of here. I served in the Canadian Forces out of high school, and I left the community, and my education within the Western system began then. I was in the military system. After I came out, I went into the post-secondary system, and I earned a Bachelor of Arts in actually work organization leadership. So I know structures and I know leadership, and I know how to make those changes. So I've been really situated within that department since 2013, when the Calgary Aboriginal Urban Affairs Committee recruited me right out of my master's degree program to come and sit down and work with them on a policy. So my leadership has kind of evolved alongside City Hall, and I've learned a lot of what the gaps are, how people function, how the system works, and how it doesn't work. So, I've been working with the community here in Calgary, in Mohkinsis, for a very long time now, and I've been, I'm very proud of the work that we got to do on anti-racism through the Calgary Police Commission, along with the Calgary Police Service last year. So you can find a lot of my work out there. As far as the disabilities, it's a very close thing to me, because I grew up with two cousins, actually, two first cousins, who we ended up burying by the time they were 20 years old, because they had cerebral palsy and they fell through every system you can comprehend. So when we came down and we actually sat down to write the City Hall policy back in 2015, 2016, 2017, we tabled it. We had a portion there that was actually dedicated to Indigenous health, and specifically to a little boy named Jordan. Jordan was a little disabled boy, and out of that came what is known as Jordan's Principle. Now, this Jordan's Principle, it simply states that, the first one asked is the first one who pays and reimburses the other level. Now, in order to understand how these Indigenous and the minorities fall through the system, we need to have that culture competency training for healthcare professionals, so they can properly figure out where these gaps in the system are going for. So little boys like Jordan don't have to fall through the system. And like my two cousins, Keith Jr. and Isaac, who all fell through the system and are no longer here today. So that really meant a lot to me. I know I'm very, very familiar with the work that's come out of the Advisory Committee on Accessibility in the City of Calgary. So I actually have a person who spearheads my disability platform within my campaign. His name is Dan Pedersen, and he actually has done a lot of work with the city as well. But he is along with me, and he has helped me to actually bring these ideas together when it comes to the Calgary corporate accessibility policy. Now, I'm going to tell you there's a recovery mode that we're going to have to go through. And within that recovery mode, we should be considering basic income. And I do understand that, there's disabled artists, there's disabled writers and performers who are not eligible for that CERB. So how are we going to help them? If we want to include everybody into this recovery, we better be considering solutions, quickly as we get into this. And we have that downtown revitalization plan that's already in place to come to life, after this election. I know, working with, frontline in the arts and in security, that the majority of our infrastructure we have outgrown and is not accessible. So we need to hear those voices as we go through this recovery mode into the resiliency. And we have to consider these voices that are not being heard. For myself, being in leadership, evolving.
To the candidate.
Thank you so much. So, evolving alongside City Hall, one thing I have learned is that there are many flaws in that citizen engagement, and we need to sit down and we need to discuss what those flaws are. For me, everybody in Ward 7 is a member of Treaty 7, and we need to learn how to come together as a community and voice each other's, if our brother and sister are suffering, we need to say something. So this is where my support is, and it is very deep to my heart. And that's all. Thank you so much for inviting me tonight.
Thank you very much, Marilyn. Thank you very much, Marilyn, from Ward 7. And now we would like to introduce our next candidate.
Our next candidate is Terry Wong from Ward 7.
Good evening. Good evening to Disability Action Hall. My name is Terry Wong. I'm running for Ward 7. It's my pleasure to be here to be able to speak to the group here. I think I would like to start a bit about my background, and following that, some of the things I'd like to look forward to do for members of City Council, as well as our great city of Calgary. My background is I used to work for the city of Calgary for 30 years, and a lot of the times I spent there was around the business planning and budgeting area as it relates to operating budgets, for example, low-income bus passes, as well as infrastructure planning to make sure that our roads are safe and straight, safe for people. The other thing that I would also say is that I'm currently serving as the executive director of Calgary's Chinatown Business Improvement Area. And one of the things that we've been trying to do within Chinatown, not just for our senior population, but for all Calgarians, is make sure that Chinatown is a must-visit destination. It's a great experience, but most importantly, it's a clean and safe place to be. And some of the things that we've been doing there have been, for example, ensuring that our traffic crosswalks are reduced in terms of the crosswalk signals, reduced in timing so that the seniors can walk across the street without fear of the red light going on. We've also worked with the city of Calgary to make Chinatown as effective today, 30-kilometer-an-hour zone all the way through Chinatown. So again, people walking across the street, people driving their cars, riding scooters, everything else as such is in a safe environment. And again, like I say, it is about safety, not only for for those that are able walking, but also those that are in I hate to use the word disabled, but difficult situations of commuting across the city. Yeah. The third thing is also that I'm also the Community Association President for Hounslow Heights, Briar Hill. And one of the things that we constantly look at is community safety, particularly on LRT stations and on our transit system. As many people have seen and witnessed today, riding transit is not the most safe place to be, and certainly accessibility is certainly a concern. So as it relates to what I hope to do in terms of my campaign and platform, it reflects in my 30 years at city and 10 years outside of that. It's about doing the right things and doing it the right way, and making sure that, as we heard DJ Kelley say earlier, it's about listening and learning and asking what keeps you up in the middle of the night. What is that allows you to have a better life as we go forward in the future here. And as we listen and learn, then we're able to lead accordingly. And that's my whole platform. Again, basically, do the right things, do it the right way, listen, learn, lead according to your priority. As it relates to disability, again, I live like many other people here with folks that have been through both a disabled situation as well as a critical illness situation where, again, getting around the city may not be the easiest thing, whether it be having renovations done to your home through the accessible housing group, whether it be ensuring that low-income passes, fair entry programs are in place, whether it be the simple thing is getting on an elevator and making sure that the visual markers are there to ensure you push the right buttons and get in there. These are things that we are all accountable, responsible for. In doing that, one of the things that I've been focusing on particularly is what we call the Guidebook for Great Communities, or now the Guide for Local Area Planning. In that focus there, it is focusing on the physical infrastructure that people live and enjoy every day, and that's your home. Making sure your home is again designed in such a way that whether you're able-bodied or disabled, it is a place in which you can comfortably live without having challenges. So one of the things
1 minute running to the candidate.
Thank you. One of the things that we're strongly pushing against is the notion of high density 3-story housing, where there's multiple stairs walking up and down. Those are the new form of construction as opposed to intensification. We need to take a look at housing stock as it relates to both those able-bodied as well as those who are challenged. Similarly goes with bike lanes. going on streets which are removing handicap parking zones. Similarly goes about snow removal on roadways. Similar goes to language barriers as well. We want to ensure that as a multicultural city, that those who have a language, I won't say disability, but impediment, that the City of Calgary through its engagement process provides the ability for Calgarians to enjoy the city through the appropriate languages. So again, going forward, what I will close with the comment of saying is that we need a city of Calgary where administration, the political force, and our taxpayers are like a three-legged stool. Without one of them, we are not a good city. We need to have a balance, again, of administration, politicians, and taxpayers serving a city that's safe, a city that's affordable, and ultimately a city that's vibrant. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Terry Wong of Ward 7. Before we carry on, I just want to remind candidates, if you see a question in the Q&A that you would like to respond to, please do so. You can just respond in the Q&A section. And now we will carry on to our next candidate. Andrea?
Our next candidate is Monique Auffrey from Ward 8.
Hi, everyone. It's so lovely to be here. I have colleagues and friends on the call, and some of you I'm meeting for the first time, but I've conversed with socially online, and it's just a delight to hear you speak. I've been inspired by comments that have come before me, and I'd like to particularly thank Marilyn for making sure that I had access to joining you tonight because I missed the invitation, and to the organizers for making space for me. My name is Monique Auffrey, and I am your City Council candidate for Ward 8. I am a social worker by profession, and I've been a CEO of nonprofit organizations building community for more than 20 years. But my background prior to becoming a social worker was actually working in the disability space in Halifax, where I worked for 11 years with children with disabilities. And so I really wanted to speak to you tonight from the heart as a woman, as a professional, but also as a politician, because they are interconnected, and that's why we're here tonight. I am the daughter of a disabled woman, and I now have a daughter who suffers from a disability as well. And so I understand firsthand the challenges of navigating a world that is not necessarily built to either support or be conducive to those who have varying levels of challenges. I also think it's important to speak about people with varying levels of ability as abilities and challenges and not always disabilities. I know that there's a growing movement to recognize ranges of abilities and not look at disabilities as other. Having said that, really what we're talking about tonight resonates hugely from a social justice perspective, because what we're looking at creating is a world of access, a world of accessibility, where we can all participate and thrive in our communities equally. I come at my practice from a client-centered perspective and from a strengths-based perspective. I know that someone in the chat, Anna May, I believe is your name in the chat, you were asking about whether or not counselors would oppose or support a ban on a particular form of therapy that is considered maybe akin to conversion therapy in the LGBTQ community. What I would say to that, coming at this particular question from a social work perspective or someone who works in the healthcare field, I think it's so important for all of our work to be client-centered. And so to your question, I would absolutely support the movement within the community to make sure that people's integrity is kept intact in terms of what is desired, and not to continue to disenfranchise and create a world of disadvantage. From a funding perspective and from a political perspective, I think one of the important things to consider moving forward as potential counselors is not just our adherence from a personal perspective or even from a political perspective on making sure that we can advance the actions, but it's to make sure that the community understands that when we're looking at our funding models, that we will prioritize the agenda to make the world in Calgary especially more accessible for all. So we can't, we want to continue to elevate the conversation. We want to continue to prioritize inclusion.
One minute going to the candidate.
Okay, thank you. But it's to make sure that we are building within those funding streams the priority to make sure that our objectives are met and that we see them through to fruition. I don't think there's very much more that I wanted to say, but again, thank you. And I think the last piece is that mental health, addictions, trauma, and PTSD are all weaving their way into the disability conversation. There's less other, it's all of us. So thank you for welcoming me tonight, and I look forward to hearing the rest of the candidates.
Thank you very much, Monique Auffrey, Ward 8. Now we welcome our next candidate.
So our next candidate is supposed to be Abdirizak Hadi, but it says that he's not able to hear, but he will be on the phone. Has that changed? Maybe I'll put it in the chat. Maybe we can hear him, but he can't hear us.
Yeah.
I'm looking for him in the panelists, and I saw a phone number there for a bit, but
oh, maybe he's dropped off for the time.
oh, here we go. I think, is it the 780 phone number?
I don't even see him in the panel anymore.
That should be his phone number. I recognize it.
Okay. Let's see.
Yeah, maybe we'll just move on for now.
Sure.
For the time being, we'll go and can we welcome Naomi Withers from Ward 9, please?
I thank you everyone for having all of the candidates here today and earlier last week to have these conversations about looking through our roles as city councilors from a disability lens. It's something that I've taken to heart the last few weeks since the announcement of this forum, and really looked and seen with a different set of eyes, but through the eyes of some of my campaign volunteers, some of my friends and family who are part of the disability community. It's been something that has been part of our campaign since we launched. Our platform is fully transcribed into Braille for the community that is hard of sight. And it is something that we are making sure we have translated into FAQ videos instead of just text on our website for those that might be auditory versus visual. And so it's something that we take for granted, I think, every day as someone who has ability, that we might not understand the needs of the rest of our community. And I think it's something that we need to understand. I took out my garbage this morning and realized that if I had been in a wheelchair, I wouldn't have been able to lift the lid of the garbage can or actually put the heavy bag inside. And so I see some immediate things that we can do as the city of Calgary to make sure that those everyday services that really are part of our dignity are met, that the needs of our disabled community is met in terms of those actions. I was able to participate with Calgary Transit on a study when the routes for the buses were being changed in my community in Ward 9. I'm a transit user, and every day I was able to get on the number 75 with one of my neighbors who is blind. And I had the privilege of having conversations with him, getting off the bus, and we actually built a relationship where I held his arm and walked him into work. And the city decided to change the bus routes. And I was no longer going to be able to ride the bus with that gentleman. And it felt, I was sad that I was missing a relationship, but then I realized the impact of that decision on me, that I would simply just catch a different bus and it would cause me 1 or 2 days of stress, maybe checking the times that the bus was coming. But for that gentleman, we might actually be disrupting his life, his relationships, how he interacts with society. And I thought, I'm on this committee to understand the changes that these bus routes are causing, but should that not be the person that we've engaged to have these conversations, and what should we do as the city of Calgary to bring those people into the conversations. So when it comes nothing about us without us, that is exactly what I saw through that experience. And we need to do far more as a city to work with organizations such as yourselves to make sure that we're bringing those voices to the table and then amplifying them. Because the number of voices might not be as great as those in the able-bodied community, but I think that they need to be louder to make sure that they are heard and represented in our policies, in our city planning, and how we do business. I'm very privileged to have some community members on our campaign who are part of the disability community, who take Access Calgary and find that that works for them well. I know that the city has made some great leaps forward in terms of transit with our LRT system, that now every door on a train is accessible. Previously on our older model trains, it was only one door per set of trains. And we heard from community that many people were facing troubles accessing other parts of their city because they couldn't get on a train. And so that's something that we've done well as a city. And I think we need to continue.
1 minute going to the candidate.
Thank you so much, Lloyd. I think that is something
Thank
we
you.
need to continue to work on. And part of accessible transit is the fair entry program. I think that is something that we need to look at, understanding when someone is just above the threshold for low income, all of the services that they no longer have access to that can really impact the quality of life. And so that's something that I think we need to do as a city. We've had the opportunity to look at some Calgary housing properties, the team, and seeing that there are huge gaps in accessibility. And we need to make sure that there is accessible housing for everyone in our city. And that is our job as city council, to make sure that we have that for people. And that we are really planning. When there's boarded up houses that the city of Calgary owns, we need to do something about it. We need to create housing for people because housing is dignity. I received a house through Habitat for Humanity when I was 4 years old, and that's the hand up that I needed to become a thriving member of society. And I think that's what everyone in the community really wants to be. And that's what I hope to achieve as city councillor, is to make sure that we have thriving, vibrant communities that are accessible for everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Naomi. From Naomi with from Ward 9. Just before you go, we might need your help. We are not sure if
Abdirizak?
Sorry. Go ahead, Andrea. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, Abdirizak, can you hear us?
I can hear you by phone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. So
Perfect.
it's your time to shine.
That's nice. Thanks.
Go ahead.
My turn. Excellent. Thank you very much, everyone. Good evening. My name is Abdirizak Hadi. I'm running for City Councillor, Ward 9. I would like to thank the Disability Action and Hall for their support. You're doing a great job and continue the great job you're doing. And I will be with you all the time, whether I'm elected or not. Disability community has a lot of issues, including but not limited, housing, accessibility, jobs, and financial issues. One of my platforms are improving snow removal for across the city, specifically Ward 9. If you guys remember, the snowstorm on December 2020, the people were struggling to get out. Even the people who was able to drive to shovel their snow, let alone the disabled person. So if I'm elected, I'm going to work hard how the city can improve the snow removal everywhere, including back alley snow removal, which the city don't do at the moment. Because back alley is very important for many thousands of Calgarians. They access their house at the back alley, they park their cars at the back alley. So, and they pay taxes and they are part of the city. So they have to get the right they need and the city has to start implementing how to remove snow at the back alleys and also improve removing snow at primary and normal roads we have. One of my platforms also that will help the disabled community is city transit. City transit needs improvements, such as bus stops. We need to increase bus stops, and we have to face each other, and we have to shelter them too. In many seasons we have, such as snow and rain and the sun, people need a place to shelter. I also planning to work how marginalized community can access all the functions or the opportunities that the disabled community has in Calgary, such as language, education, and activities, which most of them they don't know at the moment. Finally, if I did not answer all the questions you have, I was on the campaign rally all the time today. I did not get to answer all the questions. But the good news is, if I'm elected, I will be #1 supporter for able community in our city. Disability is personal to me. My son lost his hearing through meningitis at age 5, and he's using at the moment cochlear implants. So for example, if he needs MRI at Children's Hospital, he may not able to use the MRI now they're using. The people who are using cochlear implant, they need a special MRI. And at the moment, Alberta Children's Hospital in Calgary don't have one. So we need to get one MRI which will can use the people who has cochlear implant or using cochlear implant. So I will be #1 supporter, and I'm the one who's pushing all your agendas forward if I'm elected. Thank you very much for the opportunity. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Abdirizak, Hadi, Ward 9. Who do we have next, Andrea?
We now have our final candidate, it's Evan Spencer of Ward 12.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for waiting until the end. I get the unenviable task of closing. We've heard some really good stuff. So I first want to say thank you to everyone that has put in thoughtful responses. I promise not to steal. And then also thank you to the Disability Action Hall for organizing this. This is a great event, and I'm happy to be a part of it, and I appreciate being included. So I'm a community volunteer. I came to this election. I'd like to say, honestly, I tell people on the doors, I was volunteering in my neighborhood for 7 years, and they just kept giving me more responsibility. And that led to me being hired by my local homeowners association, and our outgoing councillor, Shane Keating, plucked me out of that neighborhood and put me in his office last year. So coming at this, having listened to the constituents of Ward 12, and it's interesting to me that for all that came in, some pinpointed issues around disability were some of the bigger ones that I kind of puzzled around over the last year. So I look forward to unpacking that here shortly in these next 4 minutes. I wanted to start, before I got to that though, as everyone's kind of sharing their personal experiences with this, I have a story as well. Mine is not as, it hasn't been as disruptive to my family as it has been to many others. But my daughter, we just learned last year, about 1.5 years ago, that she can't hear out of one ear. That for me was a bit of a watershed moment, because I then replayed all of the conversations I had had with her, the times when I disciplined her, when I thought it was just willful disobedience, but it turned out, oh no, maybe she actually just didn't hear me. It changed my perspective from a variety of angles. And I think, I like to think I'm a compassionate guy, prone to quickly see things from another person's perspective. But that taught me I had room to grow. So I think one of the things I hope to leave, an impression I hope to leave is I want to commit to being somebody that has room to grow, that never has all the answers all the time on any given issue. So I certainly am quite grateful to be able to have learned a whole bunch today and to continue on that journey. For me, when I think about the ways in which we can rally around the disabled community, my mind immediately goes to our streets. When I think of city as a place where we live and we do our lives, where we root, where we find meaningful things to go about every single day, I think the most granular level you can think about a city is at the block level. So that's where I want to start. I want to start with thinking about the lived experience of the people that live right in and around me. And I think if and when you start there, the issues don't necessarily seem as big at times, especially when there's human compassion raveled around every single issue as you approach them. When I think of going for a walk around the wetlands in my neighborhood and with somebody that has limited mobility, obviously I'm going to come at that from a different angle, and you're going to make allowances in a different way. And so then to extrapolate up to city planning, I like to think that when you start with relationships and you start with story, that's how you get this right. But it kind of complicates it, because it's hard to write a blanket policy when everybody's experience is so different. So in that aim, one of the things I want to do would be to make myself available through local advisory panels.
1 minute more into the candidate.
Thank you. Oh man, that went fast. Okay. I want to make myself available to the folks of Ward 12 to really listen to what they're going through. One of the stories I came across last year was some folks that couldn't access their bus through the snowstorms. And because of the city's policies around snow removal, we were unable to really give them a fulsome response. We were unable to do any sort of a targeted, regionalized response to alleviate their concerns. So that would be something I would want to look at. And then ultimately, I want to be involved in helping advocate. I consider myself an alongsider. I want to help people feel a sense that their stories are going to impact policy that's going to change their lived experience in their city. So as I end, I just wanted to re-echo that line. I really love the nothing for us without us. And that would certainly be my aim as a city councillor, would be to listen and be an alongsider for the voices of those that need a more attentive ear at City Hall. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Evan Spencer. And thank you to all of our candidates for introducing yourself. We will now turn to Gabby and Angie, who have summarized the question from the floor for your consideration. Angie?
That would help if I unmuted myself. Thank you, Amy. I have the 4 questions here in front of me for all you to consider. Starting at number 1 is a big one. What do you know about the needs of the people with the disabilities or about the disability community? Number 2 is, what steps will you take to close the gap when creating a city to include all Calgarians? Number 3 is, what will you do to ensure a great transit that is affordable, accessible, and connected and convenient fixed route public transit, accessible transportation system? And what is your opinion on the low income transit pass? And number 4 is, what are your plans for affordable, accessible housing, and that housing can be maintained and kept up to good standards?
Angie, would you also read the question that Dan has posted in the chat? And I sent you a text.
Yes, of course. I actually saw that come through. Thank you, Gabby. Another question is, given that Calgary Transit Access is city run, would you support the role of an independent, oh my gosh, independent something person.
Person.
I'm sorry?
Ombudsperson.
Oh, okay, I am so sorry, I feel silly. Given that Calgary Transit Access is city run, would you support the role of an independent person? And those are the questions. And there you have it, everyone. We will now turn this back to Amy and Andrea to introduce the candidates in the reverse order. Amy?
Thank you very much, Angie.
You are welcome.
Oh, Kelley. Just a note to the candidate. Because you only have 1 minute, we'll be timing the 1 minute, and then we will be muting you after that 1 minute. So I know it's a bit abrupt, but that's kind of how we have to keep things moving. So Andrea, would you like to introduce our first candidate?
Yeah, our first candidate is Evan Spencer, Ward 12.
Thank you very much. When it comes to the transit side of things, down here in Ward 12, the Green Line is an ever-present priority. Certainly, it has eroded in confidence in the public eye. So I would be looking to bring a strong advocacy around that project again, and also re-engage the grassroots call for it to be prioritized and move forward and continued. I think the disability lens through which this project can be looked at adds an awful lot. Certainly there are many challenges for any resident in Ward 12 accessing the rest of the city, but that just is amplified through the disability lens. So I would certainly be looking for folks to speak to how that project would help them feel a sense of connection with their greater city. And then on the housing side of things, I am going to steal a little bit here. And I just think I had no idea that some of the affordable housing that is going up has accessibility issues. So that's a takeaway for me today that I will hold with me, and if elected would look for positive and affirmative action on to make sure that future housing that comes out of Calgary has that as a priority. So it.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you very much, Evan Spencer, from Ward 12. And now we would like to welcome Naomi Withers, Ward 9.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Amy. When it comes to closing the gap to create a city that's welcoming and inclusive for all, I think we need to use that lens of inclusion and fairness. I think that the advisory committee on accessibility that the City of Calgary has is a great start, but we need to make sure that we are listening and acting upon the recommendations from that committee. When it comes to affordable and accessible housing, I think it is about it being maintained to a good standard. We need to make sure that there's funding and that we're working with other levels of government to make sure that that housing is adequate and that people are proud and safe in their homes. When it comes to understanding the disability community, it is our job to advocate and amplify those voices. And I look forward to participating more and more with this community so that we understand your needs and make sure that they can be met. And with Calgary Transit, it must continue to be affordable. With the Green Line coming in, we need to make sure there are no fare increases because wages don't go up. AISH doesn't go up.
Thank you, Naomi. Sorry to cut you off. Can we please hear from Abdirizak Hadi from Ward 9?
Yeah, thank you. So for the transit, I would like to see now the lowest fare is $5 for low-income people, and I would like to see that one $0 for our disabled community, so they will ride the buses for free, and we can able to do that when we are a rich city. And I want all the buses, for example, to use all major and primary roads, not only specific roads. so everyone can access to the bus to every route possible. So shelters, for example, the bus shelters, they need bigger doors that our disabled community members can use and can access easily. And we need all bus stops, a shelter that people can use it. Availability for housing availability is number one, it has to be available. It must be funding is available, and accessibility is back in the mind when they are constructing, or the main ones, the current ones, they have to have.
Thank you very much, Abdirizak. Ward 9, I apologize we had to mute you, but we need to move on to Monique Auffrey, Ward 8.
Thank you. I believe that disability rights are human rights, and that all municipal services and functions need to have inherent within the laws of the city accessibility for all. I really think that that ought to be, I don't want to use the word no-brainer per se, but it's shocking that we are at this stage having to fight for equal access for ability rights in this day and age in a city like Calgary. I think that universal basic income should be advocated for. That includes the provisions of transportation and accessible affordable housing. And I work in partnership and solidarity with Vibrant Calgary and the Enough for All campaign. And that's it. I don't know what else to say. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Monique. If we can hear from Terry Wong, please, Ward 7.
Hi, my comments are in the chat, but I know, I know about disabilities because I am a disabled person from a hearing perspective as well, but I need to learn a lot more from others, including this disability forum. In addition to that, I have been a part of a number of situations where family members have been disabled as well, and low income is a critical concern. In terms of closing the gap, city declaration on disabilities is important. Supporter of available, accessible, affordable transit systems, and providing accessible housing as part of the guidebook for great communities is a strong thing that I'll be pushing for. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Terry Long, Ward 7. Next, we'd like to invite Marilyn North Peigan, Ward 7.
Well, first of all, back in 2016, I had delivered a policy to the City of Calgary municipality, which was largely ignored. And that was to bring the entire community of Calgary together, vulnerable people of all sectors of life. And that was to bring reconciliation into the City of Calgary. We have the only Truth and Reconciliation report local in Canada, and we need to start utilizing that. When I sit down and I talk about disabilities, you know, what I do is I always go back to that white goose flying report, basic needs provisions understood in the context known as the social determinants of health. This includes poverty, homelessness, addictions, children's health, family violence, and access to meaningful care are key to the sector's success in realizing reconciliation principles. And now I do use an oversight. Civilian oversight would be excellent to see within Access Calgary to see where the gaps are and what can be actually improved on within that service. I use them quite often when I don't know what direction to take, and I think it's a good idea. As far as affordable housing and what would we do to ensure the transit, I have a really bold idea.
Sorry to have muted you, Marilyn. And we're going to move on to Lana Bentley from Ward 6, please.
I support the low income bus pass. I also support the implementation of all new and existing city initiatives having to go through a gender-based plus intersectional analysis so that the unique needs of equity seeking groups are considered in the planning, development, operation, and evaluation of city-run programs. I intend on being a strong voice for lower income Calgarians, and I will advocate for those folks with the same level of intensity that our current council has advocated for the likes of Aranha deals. I've been a strong supporter of the most vulnerable in our community, and I intend on bringing that intensity and experience to City Hall on their behalf. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lana Bentley, Ward 6. Next, we will hear from DJ Kelley, Ward 4.
Thank you very much to everyone who's participated here tonight in Disability Action Hall and everyone who's tuned in. I wish we had more time to get into the details about the great questions that have been asked. Earlier, I shared a little bit about our son Reed and his invisible disability, and it was really great to hear so many others share their experiences with people who are close to them who live with a disability as well. I'm going to echo something that Lana said, which is simply that more city services need to be examined through an intersectional lens in terms of how individuals with, including individuals with disabilities, would actually use those services and what we can do to improve them for more users. Nothing about us without us is something I use in my community engagement work quite often. We heard it loud and clear tonight, and I hope it will be our rallying cry moving forward for everything that City Council does.
Thank you, DJ Kelley. Can we now hear from Kumar Sharma from Ward 3?
I have to unmute myself. I'd like to thank everyone in this panel, and I'm so glad that I joined this panel today, and I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot more than what I had learned. I had known before past couple of hours. But anyway, having said that, I'm a strong supporter of accessibility. City needs to have better building codes. When building codes are created, the more consultations need to be done with the service providers. And once I become city councillor from Ward 3, I will ensure that I set up a committee and try and look into all these things. And having to fill the gaps, all I would say is that we need to have more consultations with the agencies, and we'll continue to do that. And my campaign platforms to invest in people, to have quality of life and building community, they've all fall in this place. And once again, I'd like to thank everyone. And since I've learned a lot, and I will put this into action as soon as I become city councillor from Ward 3. Thank you all, and thank you all the candidates. I wish.
Thank you very much, Kumar Sharma. Ward 3, next. That's not being quiet. Next, I would like to hear from Nate Pike, Ward 3. I apologize for the background noise.
That's all good. I just want to say thank you to everybody who showed up tonight. I want to say thank you to the organizers. I want to give a special little shout out to Lloyd. I think your timekeeping was some of the best I've ever seen. And I did not see a single person who wasn't smiling when you called us out. So thank you for that. The one thing that I really want to say, though, is the biggest thing that I'm taking away from this is those first two slides that you guys put up, because I'm a big believer that the first step of solving any problem is recognizing that we have one. And I think that those first two slides highlight that we very much do have a whole lot of problems that we have to solve. But even more importantly, I think they highlight the fact that your community is coming to the table with solutions, and we need to make sure that there are people who are willing to listen. I really want to try to be that. If you have specific questions about any of the questions that I wasn't able to get to in the compressed time, send me an email, nate@natepike.ca. I would absolutely love to hear from you. And I just want to say thank you again to everybody.
Thank you, Nate. Ian McAnerin from Ward 3, please.
I'll try to get through as many of these questions in 60 seconds as I can. One of the things that I really think that we need is a advisory panel, intersectional advisory panel that can give not just a disability lens, but many different lenses on all of our major decisions as a city. I think that would go a long way to helping people come to the table and have their voices heard. As for low-income transit pass, I am very much in favor of it. As a matter of fact, I think we should revamp our transit passes and have a much wider gradation so you can actually fit prices and how they work based on your actual needs, as opposed to round peg, square hole problems. For accessible housing, it should be mandatory for any kind of affordable housing to also be accessible. 15% of everyone who's using affordable housing right now is on AISH. It's part of the problem, and it needs to be addressed. And that's probably 60 seconds.
Thank you very much, Ian McAnerin, Ward 3. Next, we will hear from Jennifer Wyness, Ward 2.
Thank you very much for having us on here. As a Ward 2 representative, we definitely need transit in our community. We need the Green Line coming north for sure, because we are definitely underserved. So to advocate for that, I would listen to the disability community to help advocate for and take your advice on new buildings, because we have 2 new communities are being built in Ward 2, as well as bring you in as a partner when it comes to building the new arena, because that is a building that will serve the public, and accessibility needs to be paramount in the new build. And thank you for having us tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jennifer. And last but not least, Francis Aranha from Ward 2, please.
My dog has been nudging me all this while, and I've been promising her, and I told her I shall not make her wait. So we've just got 60 seconds. 30% of the job is just getting elected. 70% of the job is actually going there and getting these things done. It's very easy for all of us to make these promises, but you only do realize when you are in that situation. Canada's unemployment rate at the moment is 10%, and the inflation rate 2.2%. It's going to be very tough, but it's not impossible. All we need to do is listen to people, and great learning experience. We have people out here on this panel with various backgrounds, great experience. So combine everything, have more of these town halls, and I would be very happy that you hold all of these candidates, should they be elected, to be responsible and to do whatever was promised. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francis Aranha, Ward 1. This concludes our evening. We want to thank all attendees and candidates for taking the time to share your ideas with us. Angie?
Thank you, Amy. And I would also like to say thank you as well. And everyone, I would like to wish all have a good evening. And as what has been echoed tonight, nothing about us without us. Have a great evening, everyone, and thank you for coming. Whoops.
Yes.
Thank you.
My apologies. Also, just really quick, for anybody that wants to see the recording, it will be on the Disability Action Hall YouTube channel, so you can check that out. Colleen Houston did put the link in the chat.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
You as well. Have a great
Thank you,
night.
everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye.